Hello everyone, this is Muskan Valvani. First of all, wishing you all a very happy Makar Sankranti. As you all know about me, I'm an educationist, author, blogger and founder of EduCreate, where talent meets excellence. So today EduCreate presents 25th talk show on the topic National Education Policy 2020. For this we have invited our two special guests. First, Mr. Rajesh Awasthi sir. He is the principal of Chaitham School, Manikbag, Indore. He has two different genres of qualification with MPhil in Geography as well as post-graduation in Human Resource Management. A passionate researcher in management and education, he has been conferred with several awards at the national and international level, prominent among them being the International Young Geographers Award by International Geographical Union at the International Conference, the Administrators Award in a conference organized by Mumbai Professional Education Forum, Innovative Teacher Award under the aegis of Ministry of Human Resource and Development on Developmental Discipline. His presentation on reinventing people was well applauded at IIM Ahmedabad. He has also been awarded with British Council International School Award for leading the integration of international learning in the school. He has also delivered his expertise at the International Conference 4th Annual Spectrum of Education organized by AFS Intercultural Programs Turkey held in Istanbul, Turkey. He is a regular invitee of La Fondazione Intercultura Onlus, Italy, to present his words in forum on intercultural learning and exchange every year. He was invited to Stoke Row CE School, UK for the culmination of collaborative project based on the themes Zero Hunger, a UN Sustainable Development Goal. He visited to various other schools of UK to participate in activities related to the project. He was also invited to AFS Global Conference 2018 organized at Budapest, Hungary, where he shared his views on innovative strategies to develop global competence in schools. He was invited to AFS Global Conference 2019 organized at Montreal, Canada, to share his nuggets of wisdom on active global citizenship and how to educate for it. Mr. Awasthi believed that education should inculcate among students a sense of responsibility, dedication in attaining knowledge, building positive self-concept, developing optimistic spirit, and fostering love for others. He feels students must be exposed to learning environment that stimulate their eagerness to explore, discover, and construct knowledge on their own. They must be active participants in the learning process and begin forming their minds in an extensive manner which will lead to their ability to think critically and to seek deeper and more expansive knowledge. He further proposes that students' right to education should not be limited to acquisition of subject matter. Social and ethical developments are also important goals in education. It is critical for students to learn such skills as working cooperatively with others, deciphering what is the morally right and wrong, and applying their newly constructed understanding of the world in real life situations. Mr. Awasthi forthlies in conducting training workshops, conferences, seminars, and symposiums. His proficiency, coupled with adroitness, has enabled him to conduct several workshops for principals, teachers, students, and the personnel of corporate sector all over the country with clarity. He has to his credit for then 50 workshops or curriculum assessments, teaching, methodologies, leadership, etc. He is regularly invited by various institutions including CBSE as a resource person for various workshops. Mr. Awasthi was invited by Indian School Tanzania to conduct a 3-day workshop for teachers on conceptual and skill-based teaching. He has served as member RT advisory of Ministry of HRND. He has designed 15 module teacher training program covering various concepts, various aspects of teaching learning process, which he implements with zeal in his training sessions. Mr. Awasthi is a very active and is a member of Rotary Club. He runs a project of artificial limb distribution in which 2,400 patients were benefited across the country. He is actively engaged in setting up libraries for children in rural areas. He is registered NLP practitioner and trainer. So this is all about our first guest. Now, second guest is Mrs. Masuda Yasmin ma'am. She is an edupreneur. She is the managing director of Reliable Educational Trust and founder chairperson and academic and research head of Global Foundation for Early Childhood Education and Research and National Institute for Foundation Teachers. She has 14 years work experience in education industry with 10 years of exclusive experience in preschool management administration, academic curriculum development, academic and activity planning, and pre-primary and primary classes teachers training. Her core areas of expertise are preschool management, administration, early childhood development. Apart from curricular development and teachers training for pre-primary classes, she is well versed with core areas of development of a child. Jollyphonics and storytelling are also part of her proficiency zone. She has an experience of teaching and training middle and secondary level school classes and teachers. Dr. Yasmin is a course committee member of Early Childhood Care and Education Department of CBSE. She is also into research and development of government educational policies, their implementation of their effectiveness, need for changes and ways to bring out the changes, and working as West Bengal State President in Education Policy Council for Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and All Ladies League. She is also the State Joint Secretary, West Bengal Private Schools and Child Welfare Association, and National Core Team member and State General Secretary, All India Principals Association. Dr. Yasmin is also Global Ambassador for Global Research Foundation. She is also Educational Ambassador for India and Core Team of International Internship University and is heading ECCE department of the same. She is also manager of ECE for Positive Thoughts. So this is all about our today's guest. Now I would like to request Awasthi sir and Masuda Yasmin ma'am to share your views, keep your points on today's topic. Over to you.
Shall I speak first? Okay. Good morning, Rajesh sir, and good morning, Muskan. It's really nice to be present here on your show, Educate. And we have a very good topic to talk about today, that is NEP 2020. And what it is, basically, we have got an education system in India, or education policy in India after 34 years, which talks about bringing a revolution in the education system. That is, it is the much needed change that we were looking for. We as educationists, we as educators were looking for a long time, because if you see, this is 21st century, and there would be the students of 21st century needs a much more change in the system of learning, because it's not about rote learning, it's about the experiential learning, or the concepts that they need to learn now. The jobs that exist now, if I say, won't be there in another 10 to 15 years or 20 years. If you see banking, if you see insurance, if you see many other sectors, that won't exist in near future. So we have to make a student prepared for that 21st century profession, or 21st century bread earners, or they have to be 21st century citizens. And what I like about NEP, it has, after 34 years, any policy has come about which has talked about the foundational education. Because earlier it was just an informal education in India, and none of the government or none of the education policy or things talked about the foundational stage or the foundational education. So first is the foundational education. It talks about an education system 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That is first 5 years of foundational education, that is 3 years to 8 years, that is nursery, LKG, UKG, class 1 and 2. It comes under your foundational education. Then comes your preparatory stage, 3 to 5, class 3 to 5. Then comes your middle school, and then comes that is 6 to 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 are included in same sectors. After that comes your higher education. And when we are talking about the things that are included in NEP, it talks about more of vocational developments, internship based education, more of 21st century education. It will definitely, when it's implemented in proper way, if it is implemented in proper way, it will definitely talk about uh, what to say, that is meeting the requirements of the 21st century needs of in education system. So especially when as an early childhood educator, I would like, the best part I loved about NEP is the inclusion of the foundational education and teachers education in that curriculum, in the framework actually.
Over to you, Awasthi, sir.
Okay, fine. So as in addition to what Masuda just talked about, so basically, it is the directive for the educational system, uh, and this has come after a very long period of time, after 1986. So this is basically the third education policy after independence. The first education policy came in 1968, then second came in 1986. Then we had the curriculum framework. But in between also the work was going on. So there are so many papers on focus papers on different subjects of the teaching learning process and to add to this policy. Other than this, if we talk about the merits of the policy, is that in school education, yes, the first thing is that for the first time, the preschool education has become a part of the formal education system. Same time, a lot of emphasis is being paid on the structured assessment policy and to make it more liberal and student friendly. So like Safal is one introduced in it. If we talk about the introduction of the teachers training, so it has been mandatory that 50 hours of teacher training per year per teacher should be there. Uh, there is one wonderful thing which the national education policy talk about, and that is coming up with the National Education Commission. Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog. Now, people may say that things are going to get centralized, but then it is going to be a one-window solution for many of the things which the schools are or the colleges are struggling, or different kind of higher education system they are struggling to. At the same time, if we see, so the FLN program, the Foundational Literacy and Numeracy program, that is also going to be the game changer, because these are the two basic things which are needed. You need to have expression and you need to have logic to take it to the next level. At the same time, it do talks about the inclusive education, though the previous policies also were talking about the inclusive education. But now this inclusive education is not limited to the disability segment. The earlier the inclusion means it is only limited to the disability segment, but it talks about the emotional issues of the students in the formal setup of schools and higher education. It talks about the gender equality and inclusion of transgenders into the system. So when we talk about the equity, when we talk about the equality, both the things are part of it in the school education system. Similarly, in higher education system, making the system more research based and promoting the entrepreneurial skills among students. So the graduation, and now in graduation also they have made different stages. So you have the certificate, you have the diploma, and you have the degree. So the dropouts of the higher education will have at least one paper with them whether it's a certificate, whether it's diploma, or whether it is a degree. If they are leaving it after 1 year, at least they have some skill certificate. Third thing is the vocational education, which they talk about at the school level and at the higher education level. So earlier also the vocational education was there, but they have strengthened the vocational education. So, making people entrepreneur, making people employable, this again is going to be a very good step in terms of the education system, the new education. And this is very much visible, where the startups are coming, the new startups are coming. They are also going to be the part. So they have the incubation centers in the higher education system to promote the research, the out of the box thinking. So, the new education policy, if implemented in the same spirit, I think is going to change the scenario. But at the same time, we have to see it as threefold. So we have just received the policy. So policy is the first fold, which is the directive. The next is going to be the frameworks. We call it as the curriculum framework. So we will be having the national curriculum framework. The first draft for the foundational stage is already out, and a lot of feedback is invited on the first draft. It is almost, I think, 300, 400 page draft is there. The other drafts are getting ready. So once, the curriculum framework will come, so curriculum framework will tell you, how to do. So policy is what to do, and the curriculum framework is going to be how to do. And then the third fold is the implementation, which becomes the responsibility of the educational institutions, where your higher educations or the school education institutions. So this threefold thing, the policy in coming 3 to 4 years of time will set the direction of the education system of India. So it's a very good initiative, and I think every institution should follow the national education policy because it gives a lot of liberty to institutions also.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you, Masuda ma'am. Now I'm going to ask some questions which are asked from the audience, from the pupils also. So, question number one from Awasthi sir, NEP mentioned light but tight regulation for higher education. What is it exactly?
Well, light but tight is the phrase which had been used by in the national education policy for a regulatory framework. And this regulatory framework is to ensure that the integrity, the transparency, and the resource efficiency of any educational system in the higher education system, should be maintained, and also to encourage the innovative thinking, the out-of-box thinking ideas, giving the institution as autonomy, focusing on the good governance, and empowering the institution also. So let's understand it this way, is that right now there are different bodies which are working in higher education for different work. Say, for example, for accreditation, you go to NAC. For regulations, you go to University Grant Commission. In technical education, you have got All India Council for Technical Education, then MCI, and then there are so many institutions which are involved. Communicating, so one higher education institution has to communicate with these different institutions, for different purposes. The idea of the government is that there is going to be only one body, that is HECI, they call it as a Higher Education Commission of India. And all these things will come under the umbrella of Higher Education Commission of India. So maybe, it's a single window concept that, and it can be monitored both. So the four verticals, if we talk about, is the regulation, accreditation, funding, and standards. all these things will be done by and under the Higher Education Commission of India. So it is something bringing everything together. The higher education institutions do not have to go and approach different institutions for different purposes. So funding is done by UGC today, and then accreditation is done by NAC. So these institutions have very limited coordination among themselves, and the higher education institution at times face a lot of issues in that. So this light but tight is going to be a very good concept for the higher education system. And if I think that within 3 to 4 years of time or 5 years of time, the government is going to implement it. So this is something good for the higher education system.
Now, sir, second question. Mother tongue or local language should be the medium of education for the first 5 years of the child education, or according to the new structure or new system, that foundational and preparatory stage, then why all the CBSE, MP board, or any other board put main focus on English speaking? Awasthi.
See, we need to understand this concept of the mother tongue education. Now, the policy doesn't say that you change the medium of instructions at the school level. Scientifically also, it has been proven that mother tongue, the learning is faster. But at the same time, India is a land of diversity. So when we talk about mother tongue, so every state has a different language. Now, it is not possible for any school to follow a single mother tongue. So if you see this concept, and this was in Madhya Pradesh, especially this concept was followed earlier also, where you had these mother tongue specialized schools. So we used to have Marathi school, we used to have Urdu school, we used to have Sindhi schools. I mean, these were the language-based schools where those who are interested in getting the learning in their mother tongue can approach these schools. So far as the private schools are concerned, so these private schools, they have to come up to one single language which everybody understands and everybody should learn. So the NEP never says that you stop teaching in Hindi or in English and start teaching in mother tongue, because we have people coming from different socio-cultural background. So English is the only language which is common to teach with, dealing with all the mother tongues. So it has been misunderstood at times that teaching in mother tongue means you change the medium of instruction in any of the institution. So that's why I mean, the schools, they have to use one language instead of the mother tongues.
Sir, as English is the language that I can understand, but mother tongue, like people used to speak Sindhi, Marathi, Bengali, so many languages are there. But Hindi is the local language. Children of the age of 3 to 8 understand Hindi better than English. So why putting more focus on English then? If NEP is saying that mother tongue or local language they have asked. So at that time, because हिंदी बच्चा जल्दी समझ जाता है as compared to English.
देखिए, what you are saying is absolutely correct, and I think it depends upon school to school also, that what is their philosophy and what they are opting for. And so far as I know, that even if the schools are the English medium schools, but they are bilingual basically. So the schools are using English as the main language, but then they are not leaving Hindi. So many a times you have to give instructions to the little ones that in Hindi, instead of giving them instructions in the language which they do not understand. So it depends from school to school that what kind of system they are adopting. but I think that you need to have some language support, as you said correctly, is that even if it is bilingual, it's okay. It doesn't make any difference, because the student should learn how to express themselves. And if they are not able to express in the language, which is the medium of instruction of the school, then the assessment of the learning will be very difficult. So school should go for the bilingual teaching, and I think majority of the schools, they follow that also, especially in the initial stages.
What are your views, Masuda ma'am?
Uh, I totally agree with sir that it depends upon school to school that how it follows. And secondly, when we are talking about mother tongue education, it's actually NEP doesn't talk that you have to instruct the child in mother tongue only or teach the child in mother tongue only. It never stopped you from teaching in English or Hindi. And basically, when we are talking about mother tongue education, it is to reach the under sector of the society. That is, if we see apart from Kerala or few of the states, none of the states have literacy rate above 90%. So, because half of the when we talk in English or when we speak in Hindi, there are tribal sectors, there are rural areas where the students, they can't, because they are afraid of going to school because they won't be able to understand it. So when we are talking about mother tongue instruction, this is basically to reach every child and to connect with every child, starting from tribal area to rural area to urban area, suburban area, every sector can be covered. Yes, in CBSE or other boards, there is a focus on English, but we don't focus on English speaking only. It's, if you see the CBSE pattern, it's reading, writing, grammar and literature. None of here we are talking about speaking the language. And what is a language? Language is basically a medium of medium of expression. We are not, if we are going to treat language as a subject, then it becomes difficult. If we are going to treat language as a normal, because how do we learn Hindi or our mother tongue? By hearing, by listening. Because we don't have to teach a small child ki pani ko pani bolo, glass ko glass bolo, ya mummy ko mummy bolo. They learn automatically by hearing that. Similarly, it's when we use a language repeatedly, whether it's English or Hindi or mother tongue, the child hears it and understands the concepts better and imbibes it. So when we are talking about mother tongue instruction, it's like connecting to every child when the child don't understand English or Hindi. It's not that we have to only speak in the mother tongue. We can't actually go for English or Hindi.
Now, question number 3. Please give a brief on Safal program. Awasthi sir.
Okay, so SAFL basically, is an abbreviation for structured assessment of analyzing and learning. So it is a competency-based test, we can say, and then the education policy talk about introducing in grade 3, grade 5, and grade 8. The elementary till the elementary level, and after that then we have the examinations of board class 10th and 12th. So it is basically a pilot system has been started, and they have clearly defined that what you have to assess. So it is for language and mathematics. For grade 3, then in grade 5, it is the language, yes, mathematics being offered, And then in grade 8th, we say that it's the assessment of language, science, and mathematics. Now, the basic purpose of this assessment is totally the competency based thing. Now, let's see that, what competency and what this conceptual learning is. So when we talk about language, so every subject has got some or the other core concepts. So language has a core concept of expression, that how the child will express himself in any of the language, whether it is the mother tongue, whether it is English, Hindi, or French, Russian, any language. Similarly, to develop the logical skills, we teach mathematics, because there is nothing illogical in mathematics. And science teaches about the analysis, the cause and effect relationship, and the observation. And EVS, which was earlier social science and science in the primary level, talks about the environmental studies. Now it has got a natural environment also, it has got a social environment also. So it's a combination of science and social science at the primary level. This again gets linked to the Right to Education Act, which came into existence in 2009, and it has got some regulations in it. And one is that doing away the pass and fail system till grade 8 in the elementary education system. Studying the outcome of those things, this SAFL came into existence, that we do not detain any students, or we do away with the pass-fail system till grade 8 as per the Act, the Right to Education Act. So let's start a program and which actually give an insight of the students' learning. So how do we assess the student learnings over a period of time? So this structure has come, and the SAFL structure has come into existence, that let's do it for grade 3, let's do it for grade 5, and let's do it for grade 8, so that we come to know that how much the child is learning in major areas. And those major areas are all the subjects which we are teaching at the school level: mathematics and languages, EVS, and science. So again, SAFL will give the schools and to students also an idea about how their learning is taking place in the past. So the learning path, the learning curve can easily be drawn, and the students can be guided on developing the set of competencies through these subjects. So this is what the SAFL program is.
What are your views, Masuda ma'am, on SAFL program?
I second to sir on this. Actually, sir has given and talked on all the aspects of SAFL. SAFL actually talks about implementing holistic education, and there are two ways of assessing. There are two-way assessment system. One is assessing individual students. Second is assessing a school or region or a state, how the learning outcome has taken up the shapes. So when we are talking about SAFL, it's a 360-degree assessment system, and which makes a child more competent. Instead, what sir said, ki light but tight. When he was explaining, it was on the regulation, but I would also speak about it here also, because here the education system won't be a difficult one, but it will be a holistic one. That is, when we are talking about, we are majorly focusing on high order thinking skill, how the child has learned the concept instead of rote memorization or rote learning system. For example, if I talk about the questions in English, that suppose there is a child of pre-primary class 1 or senior KG, where we are having the storytelling session. The teachers tells the story of hare and tortoise to the student, and when we are asking who won the race or who slept in the middle. So these are the questions where the child is not using the logic in actually. That is only where it's his listening skill, what he has got from that. But when we are asking the child that what would have happened if the hare has would not have slept, or can we create a sequel of the story, the next part of the story, uh, the child will answer yes, yes, the hare said that we will have the race again, and now the hare didn't slept, and now the hare won the race. So what was the moral of the story in the first that we were using? That is, the moral of the story was slow and steady wins the race. But the second moral that the child derives is we must learn from the mistakes. So there has to be more of high order thinking skills in the assessment system to understand how well the child has imbibed the concepts. So this is a major part which the Safal talks about.
The fourth question. Please elaborate the foundational 5 pillars of NEP. Masuda.
Muskan, I couldn't hear you properly. Can you?
The question. Please elaborate the foundational 5 pillars of NEP.
So, sir is going to take up the question first, or should I?
Anyone? So,
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, NEP talks about the 5 pillars which can actually make the education system more stronger. Why we are calling it scaffolds or pillars? Because if the scaffolds are strong, the home is actually a stronger one, or the building is a stronger one. So what are the 5 pillars? First is the education should reach everyone. It should be accessible to everyone, that whether the child is or the student is from tribal area, or it's rural area, suburban area, urban areas, metros, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, everyone. The education should reach everyone, every place, every child. First is the accessibility of the education. Second, it should be affordable.
might be there's a network issue.
Yeah, I think so.
Sir, please you proceed till that time.
Okay, so I mean, taking to where Masuda left. So I mean, she talked about the accessibility that it should reach to each and every child, in any society. So that is one thing, that accessible, that we should reach to each and every child. Then it talks about, the quality of learning, not the quantity of learning. So the education need to be very qualitative. It should be affordable also. Everybody can afford the education, and that is one of the reason that they are trying to strengthen the government school system, and they are coming up with the schools called the CM Rai school, or called the PM Shri school, and strengthening their own system. And of course, to build an accountability, so accountability of all these stakeholders come into existence, and it should reach to each and everybody in the fair and justified manner. So this is what the NEP talks about, the equity also. So these are the basic 5 pillars of the NEP.
Want to continue, Masuda ma'am? The 5 pillars?
Yes, sir has rightly said. It's talk about justified and reachable education for one and all. So accessible, affordable, equitable, and next is quality of education. That is more of learning outcomes, more of what the child draws practical things out of the education instead of the rote learning. And last is accountability of everything that comes under the education system, whether it's a child's academic growth, whether it's holistic growth, whether it's other things going around in the school, safety, security, and everything that is accountable for a good learning environment. So everything
Next,
covered.
in NEP, that fund word, what does it mean? Like the fund to build the nation's capacity to provide equitable quality education for all girls as well as transgender students. Awasthi, sir.
Well, I mean, as the question itself answered this is that, the government of India is going to constitute a gender inclusion fund. And this gender inclusion fund is to build the nation's capacity, to provide the equity and for the girls. And this time, the transgenders, the third gender has also been included in it. So this is where is the beauty lies in the gender inclusion fund. And these funds, the central government is going to give to the state government by the central government, which we can say are critical to assist the female and the transgender children, and then we making the education at the same time, apart from that, there is a provision of the other things also, the gender inclusion fund, and it is which is the dire need is the sanitation and the toilets, and then distribution of bicycles, and sometimes transfer of cash for say uniform, transfer of cash for in the form of scholarships and all. So this is going to make leftover part, which is very high in the amongst the students, that is the girls and the third gender, and it is in a step to bring them into the mainstream of education, to in learning. And then there are whatever barriers are there. So this fund is going to help the beneficiaries to get into the education system, to come back into the education system, and participation of each and every child in the process of learning.
Masuda, ma'am, your view?
Uh, exactly, sir said it rightly that it's actually a funding done by the government to bring the education system to the segment who were like where the education was the literacy rate, if we say, was quite lower than the male sector of this society. That is, it's talk about education to all the gender based sorry, we what to say, we don't have to now focus on gender. It can be a female, it can be a transgender who can access education and easily accessible, and for that the government has generated some funds, and that is actually about the funds that we are talking about under Samagra Shiksha 2.0.
Samagra Shiksha 2.2.
2.0.
Okay, fine. So, next question. What is the importance of foundational stages of education and how to implement effectively? Masuda, ma'am.
Yes, now this is my question.
Yes.
Yes, as I told you, if the scaffold of a house is strong, the house becomes stronger. Similar is with the foundational age education system. That is, if we have uh, the early childhood education, a good quality early childhood education at right and appropriate age of the child. Yes, the child has a brighter future because the child, it creates a love for learning in the earlier stage only that goes for a lifelong. Secondly, when we are talking about this foundational age learning, then NEP says it is scientifically proven that 85 more than 85% of the brain development takes place before the age of 5 years or 6 years. Even if you see Bonvita Little Champs or Junior Holics, that talks 2 से 5 साल के बच्चों के लिए. That is, they talk about the brain development at this stage that takes at the highest pace. If you see a child of 2 years or 1.5 years, the child is able to find anything and everything in the YouTube. He don't need know to read and write, but he uses the voice notes and everything to find out whatever the child wants. So, and if we see the elders at our home, they have to learn the things, because here the child is a 5G child. The brain development takes, it's a 21st century child, and the brain development is taking place highest at this stage. The neuron connectivity at this stage is the highest. So still, if we see the education system that we were following right now, it was when a child enters grade nursery, he was taught sleeping line, standing line, and A for apple, A for apple, A for apple. This is an apple. यही हम लोग सिखा रहे थे, which was just using one part of the brain. I would narrate a story here. Once I met a doctor couple, and they were narrating a story to me that the doctor couple, his wife was to go for delivery. They had a younger child of 3 years or 2.5 years. So every day the doctor couple used to tell them that, yes, we are going to bring a gift for you, gift for you, gift for you. And when the child was brought home, when the mother got delivery and the child was brought home, then the child asked that, where is my gift? Is it going to come online? That is when the child at 2 years or 2.5 years use the term online. See the brain development or the capturing power that he has or she has. So, and still we are teaching that standing line, sleeping line. And if we see the education system, if we see 10 years later, that is nowadays, much of the things that we do are typed or voice notes we are using. Alexa has reached everywhere to the schools also. We have artificial intelligence and robotics in the schools. So instead of focusing more on writing skills, the school was based where the schools, the education system that we are following right now is more this. Even the parents want that child should write A to Z 1 to 100 in nursery itself. If the child is not writing, means he has got failed. We are not actually seeing how the child has developed holistically. So foundational stage or the foundation introduction of foundational education has become very vital, and NEP has already done it. NCF, even if you say NCF has come up with the foundational stage, that is National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Stage Education. It talks more about no books curriculum. So here, yes, and it is as an early childhood educator, I feel this is the best part that has been done, because as parents, as teachers, we were more focused on completing the syllabus, more focused on how the child is able to write or not, and even the literacy foundation in NL. FLN, when we are talking about foundational literacy and numeracy also, it was more confined to writing of the things than understanding. The child is able to see and write 1 to 100, but if a child is given to count 20 objects, the child wasn't able to count the 20 objects. The practical aspect of the foundational numeracy. If a child was given A for apple, A for ant, the child used to mug up the things, only the two objects out of it. More focus has to be given on the understanding of the, what to say, phonics sense. That is, A sounds A sounds apple, A sounds ants, A sounds alligator, A sounds apron. When I say alligator or a new object, arrow, arrow, the child is able to find out that it starts with A. So more has to be, that is, and secondly, it has talked about brain-based learning, that is cognitive skill developments also. So it has to have more of what if questions. If I ask a child of 3 years or 4 years that every day you come to your school and what do you find that something is missing in your car that isn't present right now in your car. Some of the child, one or two child will say, yes, I want a potty seater because whenever I come to school, I find like going to toilet and I can't. Second, child may ask the child, my car should fly when there is a traffic jam. The third child may feel that when there is a river, the car should be able to float on it or swim also. So this is the concept. We are creating the little scientist. Someone might have a few years back, like Wright brothers, have thought that there has to be a vehicle which can fly. So now we are giving this sense that how you can be the creators, how you can create the things, the concept has to be there during the early stage only. Second, when we are talking about the emotional and social development, as if you see when a child clears IIT, or when a child becomes a doctor or engineer or a scientist, the teachers take the pride, this was my child. But do as a teacher or an educator, we take the blame when the child at IIT commits a suicide. He has reached, means he has cleared IIT, means he has reached a good stage. He is quite enough that yes, he has reached something, he has done, but he is not able to take up the challenges in the life when it gets tougher. So right from the beginning stage, it actually has to be done that yes, your failures are acceptable. We have to teach the child, we have to accept the failures, that yes, it's very normal that we can fail. Yes, everyone can't win. We are unique in our own ways. We need not be better than others. We have to be better than ourselves every day. When we talk about the moral education in the foundational stage, actually moral educational books, if you see moral science book or moral education books, it is more of a literature book followed by question answer, no practical things in it. But when we have introduced moral education, there has to be something moral learning from that. And for example, instead of teaching a child that there is a chapter or story which talks about moral education, if I ask my child, yes, every day you have to come to the class and appreciate all your classmates. The same, the third one, fourth one, everyone does the same. For example, I'm appreciating Muskan every day. Yes, Muskan, today you are looking so good. Yes, Muskan, you have done the homework. Muskan, you have yesterday you have answered so brilliantly in the English class. I loved it. So every day when I'm praising about Muskan, automatically Muskan develops a sympathetic relation with me. Similarly, I as a child, Instead of finding the mistakes or loopholes in Muskan, I'm trying to find out the better things or good things about Muskan. Every day when I finds about every day when I finds a single good thing about Muskan, there is some relations or that is connections that I create every day. This is actually socialization or the moral development. So moral education should be practical, and it should not be a literature book followed by question answers. Similarly, yeah, sir can continue because this is my subject where I can speak for us. So I hope I think the sir can take up now.
Okay, fine. I mean, that's wonderfully explained. I slightly have some different views on how the NEP talk about this foundational stage and then bundling the classes. And I think that it will be too early to talk about because the curriculum framework hasn't come yet. Now, what Masuda was talking was absolutely correct, but I put it in the methodology part, the curriculum part, that this is how you should teach in the classroom. So that is well taken care by her in talking. If we talk about the system, which is the 5-year system plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So it has the only thing which I see here is that bringing the early childhood education into the formal learning system. This is one part has been done. Rather than it is the rebundling of the classes. So earlier, if we see early childhood education was for 3 years, now they say that no, let's make it till grade 2. And majority of the schools, they follow this system, the single teacher system, the mother teacher system till grade 2. Then grade 3, 4, 5 different subjects are being introduced. So they basically rebundled the classroom, and how this is going to work, that I think the time to come will tell about. Second thing is that it needs a lot of clarity on the framework. I mean, that is what we are going to teach at the different level. So if we see the National Curriculum Framework of 2005, so in 2005, they also talked about the FLN, not the word used as FLN, but then they had their emphasis on teaching language and mathematics till grade 2. In grade 1 and 2, they, because the element, this preschool was not the part of the formal system. So in grade in 1 and 2, they do talk about teaching only the subject like mathematics and language, and then add EVS in grade 3, 4, and 5, and then add science and separately the social science from grade 6 onwards, and then different gradings were made. So this time the name is given as the foundation literacy and numeracy program. But then to me, it seems that it's the repackaging of what the National Curriculum Framework was having. Still, the draft is out. So let's wait for some more time on how this is going to work and what is going to be the framework of teaching at the foundation level.
सर एक क्वेश्चन है मेरे माइंड में काफी देर से आ रहा है, लाइक फोनिक्स की जब बात की गई, मसुदा मैम जब आपने फोनिक्स के लिए बोला, तो मेरा पर्टिकुलरली क्वेश्चन है, हम लोग बच्चों को बोलते हैं रीडिंग के लिए कि फोनिक्स का यूज करो, लाइक ए बी ब सी क डी ड लाइक दिस. सो जॉली फोनिक्स जब एंटर हुआ तो बच्चों के ऊपर एक प्रेशर आकर बना कि फोनिक्स से पढ़ो तो ही रीडिंग आएगी. लाइक इन आवर टाइम्स हमको फोनिक्स का फ भी नहीं पता था कि व्हाट इज फोनिक्स. हमको BAT बैट CAN कैन पढ़ाया, दैट इज व्हाट कि हमको यहाँ से ऐसे रीडिंग करनी है. बच्चों को बोला फोनिक्स से पढ़ो, फोनिक्स की हेल्प से बच्चों ने पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया. देन इन ग्रेड 1 ग्रेड 2 बच्चों को ये बोला गया नहीं अब आपको फोनिक्स भूलना है, बिकॉज इन सम स्कूल्स मैंने ये देखा है कि वहां पर ये चीज बोली जाती है बच्चों को कि आप फोनिक्स भूल जाइए, अब आपको पर्टिकुलरली रीडिंग खुद ही करनी है. लाइक बच्चा जैसे पढ़ता है ब एट बैट, बैट, अगर बच्चा इस तरह से पढ़ता है, उसको ये डायरेक्ट बोला जाता है कि नहीं, आपको फोनिक्स कनेक्ट नहीं करना है, उसको लिंक नहीं करना है, डायरेक्ट आप पढ़िए उसको बैट. So is it the right way?
Actually, when we say about Jolly Phonics, what maximum of the schools have accepted is the Jolly Phonics. It is like lots and lots of loophole. If we are saying about talking about Jolly Phonics, it is only for the first stage that we can take up. That is apple. But when we are saying the spelling of put and cut, we can't pronounce it the same way. There are so many spellings. If you see the knife, spelling of knife, K-N-I-F-E, K, N, A, E for E. So how would the child pronounce it? When the child reads it, it's through Jolly Phonics. So because we Indians, we are actually talking and trying to copy something that is from outside, we fail here. Earlier, when we were talking spelling, when we are talking about the spellings, we used to mug up the spellings or see the spellings, and automatically it's used to go into our brain. So we didn't had any problem or the challenges. We know that we have to read out or learn up the mug up the spellings. But if you see Jolly Phonics, we cannot read out all the spellings with Jolly Phonics. In our National Institute for Foundation Teachers, we teach phonics to the students. That is called coding phonics, and that is invented by one of the Indian or one of my team members, Rajni Rao, and she has represented India in early childhood education in Finland education system also. She is the head of department training and curriculum department in our organization. She has come up with a coding phonics system through which you can read out all the spellings, existing spellings in the world. It's based on color coding. It's based on compiling the words. How the two vowels can be clubbed together, how the vowel and consonants can be clubbed together. It's a different way to approach the phonics world. And I think when we are talking about phonics, it is the best option that can be followed, so that it has a 30 days reading challenge. If a child or a teacher follows it for 30 days in a classroom, the child will be able to read this everything and anything in the class effectively and efficiently, very efficiently. Child can pronounce anything that exists in English dictionary. So we have to we have to be aware of all the phonic things that are going around in the world, because we as an Indian, we try to copy up something from the foreign, and when we are talking about phonics, we try to follow the easiest phonics system, that is Jolly Phonics. And when we go to the next stage, we are not able to actually answer able to give a reasonable answer to the students that why CUT cut and PUT put. There are so many spellings that we cannot pronounce it with the Jolly Phonics. So why we are not able to answer?
One talk show with Yvonne Delorto. She's from Spain. I have asked so many questions on phonics. She was also not answerable at that time, because there are so many things. We are also confused when we are teaching the children. We are also confused that कभी बच्चा पूछ लेता है कि मैम A को भी ए प्रोनाउंस करना है, E को भी ए प्रोनाउंस करना है, तो they are confused. उसका exactly एकदम in depth concept हम लोग बच्चों को नहीं समझा पाते हैं, because we also know about it.
Every vowel has two or more sounds. That is, if we say A, there is a long vowel A and there is a short vowel A. When I talk about short vowel A, A sounds A. And A as apple, A as apron, A as almond, A as arrow, A as alligator. When I say about long vowel A, it is A as aeroplane, aeroplane. Similarly, every vowel has dual sounds and every vowel has a longer sound and a short sound. We have to understand that. That is, initially we take up short vowel sounds for the students, and after that, when they go to senior KG, they learn about a longer sound also.
Your views, Awasthi sir?
Well, fine. I mean, very well explained by Masuda ji. See, the thing is that the first thing which we have to ensure is that what for we are using these techniques. And these are all techniques. Whether you talk about phonics, you talk about jellyphonics or XYZ, these are basically techniques. Now, these techniques are used for for reading or for speaking. So when we talk about the pronunciation, so pronunciation basically is the structured sound. We make different type of sounds, and if we follow a particular structure, then we say that it's in pronunciation. So what she was explaining that, the to a or c to k and all these things. So these are the structured pronunciation. Now, this is very debatable. Why this is very debatable, especially in a country like India, if I take the reference and you go to any part of world, it is always debatable because our pronunciation is basically influenced by the local language. So whether you follow, a or b or abakada, what method we say is. So when you go to West Bengal, it's going to be a very different pronunciation. If you go to Tamil Nadu, it will be a very different pronunciation. And in Madhya Pradesh, it will be a different pronunciation. Similarly, if you go to Italy, it will be a different pronunciation. You go to Latin American countries, it will be a different pronunciation. So what I believe is that there needs to be a very flexible way which the school should adopt, and then start teaching the reading and the speaking skills, because this comes under the reading and speaking skills. Now, this what I was talking about was the regional diversity. But within the school framework, the socio-cultural background of the students also affect, the mother tongue affects, the local dialect affect the pronunciation, the English pronunciation. So, you go in Chhattisgarh, in Bihar, so you will find a different type of Hindi or English language being spoken in Madhya Pradesh. It is more of, because, and they both are the Hindi speaking countries. Rajasthan is a Hindi speaking country. UP is a Hindi speaking countries, but the dialect affect the pronunciation. So in my very opinion is that the school should decide that which technique the school will follow, because all the techniques, they are having their merits and demerits, and one size fits for all doesn't work. So the school should decide that, which techniques needs to be followed. In any of the technique, I mean, she gave a good reference of jolly phonics also and the phonics also. But then when you shift to the formal reading, there are so many pronunciations which usually we do not teach in the classroom, and then they are done in a very different manner. So she gave an example of put and cut. So yes, I mean, there is, and these are basically, the language logics. So these language logics are not taught in any of the school. So we teach the pronunciation, but then we do not teach the language logics. Just for example, if you open the dictionary and you will find certain symbols written after the word. So there is a letter and then there is a symbol written after it. What does that symbol means? So that symbol actually leads you that how it should be pronounced. But that is a standard pronunciation. But then we do not have as such any standard pronunciation throughout the world. Even the English speaking countries like Australia or New Zealand, or even, country like England and United States of America, they have different sounds. So let's see how they speak. So whenever, the British person will speak, so he'll have his lips rounded and then he'll say, whereas, it is wide open in America and then more wide open in Australia. So language being used in different way. I mean, You go to the European countries, so they do not pronounce TST what we pronounce TST is. So for T is actually a different pronunciation. So I think that it should be at the school that how they can train their students better in reading and speaking skills, and they should adopt accordingly the techniques which they want to adopt.
Next question. Which class will be considered to be a board class? Avasthi sir.
No, it's 10th and 12th. I mean, it's all, I mean, the false news in the social media universities, which is following that there will be no 10th class. No, it is going to be 10th and 12th board. There is also a misconception about the SAFL program that class 3, 5, and 8 are also going to be the board. No, these are the competency based assessment. So, and 10th and 12th are going to be the external examination. So they have different purposes. So there is one national achievement survey, which is called NAS. Then you have got SAFL, then you have got the external examination, the public examinations. So 10th and 12th are going to be the board examinations.
Now the last question. Will there be any special training for teachers?
Basically, NEP do talk about the capacity building programs, the teacher competency program. They do talk about it, and why it is very important that unless and until you have the competent teacher, you won't be able to implement the objectives of the national education policy, the new education policy. So it does focuses and very strongly focuses on the teacher training part. And every board, every state nowadays, if you see that they are organizing this teacher training, and it is mandatory for every teacher to attend at least 50 hours per year, 50 hours per year of the training. The principals, the schools, they have to organize, they have to have their own training calendar, and then they have to conduct the training programs for the teachers also. Also, they have asked the different school complexes, the school groups also, to develop the training modules for the teachers of their members. So if we say CBSE is conducting a lot of training programs, then CBSE as a part of Sahodaya. So Sahodaya is almost in every big city, we have the Sahodaya school complex. So this Sahodaya school complex conducting training program on their own. Other than that, now CBSE has come up with a wonderful concept, and that concept is hubs of learning. So where you have one lead school, and then there are 4 or 5 associated schools. So they also have to go for the training of teachers, and of course the students' activities are also a part of that. And it is not limited to the teachers, even it is there for the school leaders also to attend the program. And these programs, are very diverse programs. So it is not limited only to the pedagogical issues only, like, experiential learning or art integration or the sports integration, and the new buzzword we talk about, the storytelling and all these things. And then you have the leadership skills also. So NEP is focusing a lot on the teacher training part, and this is very crucial, and all the schools and the teachers should take it on priority, these training programs.
Okay. So thank you so much, Awasthi sir and Masuda ma'am, for giving us this information on the national education policy. As I hope जो हमारे viewers हैं जो हमारा ये show देखेंगे, I hope उनको जो information है, जो उनके questions उन लोगों ने पूछे थे, they get the whole information. And definitely with Awasthi sir and with Masuda ma'am, I will conduct a separate talk show. बिकॉज हमारे पास जानने के लिए इतनी सारी चीजें, इतने सारा जानना है आप दोनों से. सो इट कांट बी पॉसिबल कि हम एक ही टाइम पर दोनों से पूछे, बट डेफिनेटली अवस्थी सर एंड मसुदा मैम प्लीज आप अपना टाइम हमें दीजिएगा आगे के टॉक शोज के लिए एंड ऑन द डिफरेंट टॉपिक। मसुदा मैम के साथ ईसीसी और अवस्थी सर के पास तो बहुत सारा नॉलेज है जो हम लोग को पूछना है, जानना है और बहुत कुछ सीखना भी है।
So kind of you, so kind of you.
So thank you so much, sir, and Masuda ma'am, for giving your precious time.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Muskan, for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Masuda ji. It was nice interacting with you. And thank you, Muskan. Thank you so much. You know, all the best.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.